Hi guys, welcome and sorry for the audio quality, but it's a little windy. I'm just going close to Esda in Leighton Miles. I'm close to a parking lot, but it's really nice weather. It's not that far away from my place where I stay now, so decided to make a short walk. It's really beautiful weather. You can see it's really sunny. I have even problem to see because the sun is in front of the camera, so the quality of the video should be pretty nice, but yeah, but it's going straight to my eyes and I didn't take from my car sunglasses, but it doesn't matter. I just want to make a short review of the new laptop of the Dell Inspiron 7559. It's a 15.6 inch laptop from a 7000 series, a really new model, and compare it to the old model. As you know, my old laptop was Asus A55 with a i7 3rd generation EV bridge, i7 3610QM with 8 GB of RAM, where it's exactly in two modules, 4 GB RAM each, a DDR4, and with two SSD drives, 1 TB and 512 GB. And the new is exactly Dell Inspiron 7559 with a new Skylight i7 processor i7 6700HU, 4 cores, 8 threads. So the same number of the cores and threads as the old processor, but with a new architecture, with a standard architecture, much faster, and with an graphic GTX 960M. The old one was GTX 660M. And difference about the computer. Dell Inspiron comes in a standard configuration with 8 GB of RAM, DDR3L, low voltage RAM. In one module, it's one module 8 GB, and the second slot is empty. And it comes with a 1 TB hard drive, 5400 RPM hard drive, standard SATA drive. It has also M2 slot, and my is a little change. Just I upgraded this computer just after I've taken this. I've added RAM and a second 8 GB module DDR3L from Samsung, so it's together 16 GB of RAM into 8 GB modules, which is nice for this computer. It's much better for encoding in Adobe Premiere. Especially that now 16 GB is really necessary for encoding. First we can do this on 8 GB, but 16 will be much faster and more stable, in case that Adobe software needs a lot of RAM. Yeah, I will stand here because it will be less wind, and it will be better for you to hear me. It will be easier for you. And I changed the hard drive because I put in the M2 slot Samsung 850 Evo M2, because in M2 slot you can put two types of the hard drives, SATA compatible drives and NVMe and NVM compatible modules. In my computer, the motherboard accepts only SATA compatible drives, so I've chosen 850 Evo, because 950 and 940 is only NVM, so I chose the highest version with SATA compatible. And so I changed the original configuration, adding RAM, as I said, up to 60 GB of DDR3L RAM, and I put additional hard drive SSD in M2 slot. From an old computer, I changed also a standard hard drive 2.5 inch, and I put the original in this HDD 1 TB 2.5 inch SATA to the old computer, and from the old I've taken my SSD 1 TB to a new one. So in the new one I have in a place for HDD and SSD. So I have together 2 TB hard drive in two drives, 1 TB each. exactly like this. And second SSD drive, 512 gigabyte from old computer, which was in a DVD bay, because the new computer doesn't have a place for DVD drive, so I could put in this place this drive. I've taken a hard drive enclosure, USB SATA enclosure for 2.5 inch drives, and in this enclosure with a USB 3.0 I've put my 512 gigabyte SSD. So I have a new new external hard drive. So it's a 512 as external and 2 1 terabyte each hard drives inside. So it's a pretty good configuration. I used the software I used before, so I used Adobe Premiere. I use Premiere, Audition and Photoshop in a CC 2015 version, because 2017 it's a little slower. I don't know why it doesn't work such good like 2015. So I use a 2015 version, 2015.3 exactly, version of Adobe Premiere, and of course Windows 10 Professional 64-bit, because when you have more than 3.5 gigabyte of RAM, you need to use a 64-bit system. So I use my old system of softwares. After I put the old hard drive, the Windows 10 installed the basic drivers. I need to connect again to a Wi-Fi, because it's related with a system and a network card, which was different. So it's of course dual band AC cards. It works in 2.4 gigahertz N networks and 5 gigahertz AC networks. So it's also dual band. If there will be not, I will put from my old computer, which I have still. And so yeah, so it just installed the amazing drivers. I had to connect to a Wi-Fi. After connecting to a Wi-Fi, it downloaded automatically the old drivers. It was necessary. I only need to download on my own again NVIDIA drivers to a new graphics card, which is the same drivers as to an old, but it needs to be installed again. So I installed again. After this install, I delayed the installation, the old drivers, going to a device manager, show hidden devices, just they are not active, and then I delayed the old drivers, so they will be not in the system. They will don't waste the space on the drive. It was pretty easy. And after this, I put a CD cleaner to remove the all trash from the system to make this really fresh, and it works pretty well. So I have one partition on the first drive, on my 2.5 inch drive for a system, 1 terabyte partition for a system, and a second 1 terabyte partition on a second, which is on a second drive. So this is the first partition on the second drive. It's 1 terabyte partition for my data, for videos, for rendering to work in Adobe Premiere. With this computer, you will also have a power supply, which is 19.5 volt, 19.5 volt power supply, 6.7 ampere, 130 watts, which is pretty good for this. It's enough. With old, I had a 90 watt, 4.8 ampere, 90 watts power supply, which was also good, but a little not enough. Just as original 90 watts here. I have original. I have also a second power supply, just this in case of emergency. About working in Premiere on an old computer, the speed is almost the same in the Premiere. It's a little faster or new, but the CUDA rendering is faster. The difference in the speed is about 10-15%. It's not so much, but the thing is that it's more stable. In an old computer, when I rendered videos, the computer gets really a little hot. You then hit the fan. This is working on really fast, and the power supply, which was 90 watt, but was getting really warm. I had a power supply from a HP computer with a change table in the old one, and it was getting really hot. So after I rendered one video, I had to make a break, and so I edited the second video. But before I render, I had to a little wait until it will get cold, so it was not as convenient. Here Power supply doesn't get really hot. Also, the computer is not getting very hot. This is a gaming model. It's 7559 Dell, which is a gaming model, one of the cheapest gaming model, but it's not a cheap laptop. It works really good. There's not a problem with the performance, not a problem with the cooling, as most gaming models have a really good cooling system, because it's made for hard games, so it's also good for a premiere. This was my point of thinking to choose a gaming model, in case that probably the cooling system, the heat pipe and the fans will be much better than in a standard model, and it was right. It was really right. I have a 2-year guarantee for this computer, so it's working really well. I will put you a photo of this Dell Inspiron 7559, so we'll be able to look how it looks. I understand the design is a really individual case, but the performance is really great. I know this is not a cheap configuration, because this computer is very expensive for many people, but it works pretty well. Enjoy it. Thanks for watching and see you soon. Bye.